Boy Wire, thank you. Let's bring in our CNN political commentators. On the right, Ben Ferguson, host of The Ben Ferguson Show, and on the left, Mark Lamont Hill, host of BET News and a professor at Temple University. So, Ben, the NFL is a business. Business can make rules about what its employers and employees, I should say, can or can't do. But since they have already let the genie out of the bottle, so to speak, with these players taking a knee, would it harm the NFL's relationship now with its players if it tries to pull back on that?
I think I guess it could harm in the short term, but hopefully they can sit there and say, look, we need to come up with a better way to protest. It doesn't seem like we're disrespecting the American flag and those that fought and protected and defended it. I also think this is an opportunity for the NFL players. As this afternoon, I was looking at a lot of the conversations that we're having online before we did this today, and there's so many people that say they support the players and what they're trying to get across, but the way they're doing it and their messaging is not connecting with people. If you're running a protest, you want to bring as many people to your mindset, to your thought process as you possibly can. This is probably the worst way for these NFL players to get their point across because it looks like to the majority of Americans that it's inappropriate to use a moment where you're supposed to be honoring the flag and the men and women that have fought, protected, and defended it to push another issue, if that in fact is the issue that you're really trying to push. I also think the NFL has an image issue because the biggest day of their protest was a day where it looked like the majority of people protesting were actually protesting Donald Trump and his words. They were not involved in the protest for the year before that. So they need to hit the reset button. And if I was advising them, I would say, guys, you need to make sure that you're not having more people hate you than like you. You need to have more people listening to you than turning you off. And from an NFL perspective, most people, sports bring us together. It brings us together because we're not talking politics. When I watch a game, the last thing I want to do is deal with politics. That's why cities come together when their teams are making a run at a championship, right?
I think because a lot of people can agree with you that sports and politics, we want to reprieve. But let me bring Mark into the conversation, Ben. I hear what you're saying, and you bring up a good question, Mark. Does kneeling still represent a protest of racial injustice and police brutality, or has it become a protest of the president and what some see as his attempt to shut down their freedom of expression?
Ben said lots of stuff, so let me try and get to it through as much of it as possible. To answer your question directly, yes, kneeling still represents a resistance to racial injustice, to state violence, and to police violence. That's exactly what it's for. Ben points out that the majority of Americans find this disrespectful to the flag. I'm not sure if that's true. I haven't seen any data to confirm that. But let's not be ahistorical here.
In the polls that have been done, I'll let you finish, Mark, but just in the polls that have been done, we have seen that the majority of Americans say they don't agree with kneeling during the anthem, but the majority have also said they don't agree with the president saying you can't kneel during the anthem or that you should be fired for it.
Right. I understand what the polls say that most people disagree with it. But what I'm saying is there are multiple reasons to disagree with it, some of which don't have to do with the reason that Ben was suggesting. I'm saying until we unpack the data more closely, it's hard to know exactly what people are disagreeing with. But my bigger point is, at every junction in history, there have been people, the majority of people have disagreed. The majority of people disagreed with Martin Luther King. The majority of people disagreed with Rosa Parks. There's never been this moment where America moved forward from consensus or from majority rule. The majority has always been against justice. If you go by polls, that's not what we go by. And I don't.
Yeah, the difference.
No, hold on. Ben,
Let's let Mark finish. Let's let Mark finish.
So then the other question here is who gets to define what patriotism is, who gets to define what respect for the American flag is. There are many people who would say that Donald Trump disrespects the American flag through his presidency. There are many people who would say through his practice, through his acts, through his words, there's a disrespect for the American flag. There are many different perspectives on this, but these players have a right and a duty, I think, to speak up against injustice in the way that they see fit, and then kneel in their minds, do that. And again, they were very clear about saying, look, we're going to take a knee as opposed to sitting down. We're going to take a knee as opposed to not standing at all. They made a very clear decision that is in response to the advice of a veteran. And they said, look,
let me say this real quick.
Go ahead, because you apparently
this is where the NFL and Mark, I think the difference between, you said the polls that were against, for example, Martin Luther King, the civil rights era. That's a poll that is completely different context. You're talking about suppressing people. The majority of Americans believe that the NFL players have the right to protest. The majority of the American people, I think, support the idea of standing up to racial injustice, and they support them in doing that. The only issue here is the avenue of doing it during the national anthem, the presenting of the colors, honoring our military, the appropriate moment in time to do that. And I said it earlier, I'll say it again. If your job in a protest is to bring more people to your way of thinking and your way of life, then you want to make sure that you're not alienating more than 50% of the people that think we support your right to do it. We do not support the way that you're doing it when it comes to the flag.
But Ben, may I just ask you or throw this in there? I mean, the president has not really acknowledged what the message of those protests were initially. The president has not acknowledged the part of the racial injustice that is there and exists in this country. When you talk about unifying the country, is he really doing that by creating this division and this controversy with it?
Look, I think you see how this debate has gone on now for so long. You see how many people have chimed in on the debate. There are a lot of people that cannot get past the fact that you have NFL players that are stretching on the sidelines during the national anthem, that are sitting and kneeling during the national anthem, that don't even come out of the locker room during the national anthem, that we're not out there protesting with Colin Kaepernick until Donald Trump spoke about it. So that's the politics.
Ben, finish your sentence and then go ahead, Mark.
No, go ahead, Mark. You can take it from there. It's fine.
So one thing is, again, Ben's talking about color guards, honoring troops, honoring people from wars abroad, which is what these veterans have done. All of these things are politics. To pretend as if the NFL players who are kneeling injected politics into sports is simply untrue. The NFL has always been about politics. The only difference is it's been a very singular narrative about politics, a very singular narrative about war and about troops and about military and about justice. And now these players are intervening saying, hey, let's not take this for granted. If we're going to sing the national anthem, let's acknowledge the fact that the words of the national anthem don't ring true for a whole lot of people. Let's acknowledge that this American flag that flies all around the country and in some ways around the world simply doesn't hold true in its democratic principles for the vulnerable of this country. So let's have a different kind of conversation. And again, continue to tell people, hey, you can protest, but you can't protest here. That's exactly what happened during the civil rights struggles. They told people, oh yeah, you're allowed to protest, you're allowed to have your right to free speech, but why do you have to do it on the bus? Why do you have to do it at our lunch counters? Why do you have to do it in our schools? Why do you have to do it in front of this university? That was always the narrative. We have to stop telling people that they can't protest. The only reason we're talking about
I want to quote the NFL players here.
Hold on, Ben. Go ahead, Mark. Finish up.
The only reason we're talking about this right now is because these players took a knee. If these players were to go to the local civic site of civic engagement, if they were to go to a local coffee shop, if they were to go to a local rally outside of the NFL, nobody would be talking about this. We only talk about this because they only. Ben, there are rallies against police brutality every day, and we're not talking about them. We're talking about this one because prominent people are putting something on the line. That's why Colin Kaepernick is a hero, because he's prominent, he was rich, he was famous, and he still took a knee in full public view. That's why we're talking about it, and that's why these players have to continue to kneel during that national anthem, because that's the only way to put attention on this issue.
Here's the one thing I'll say. I wish the NFL players would go back and look at their own tape when they were over in England playing a game, and they knelt during the national anthem, but they stood, all of them, for God Save the Queen. Why? Because they understood the respect. And when you don't respect this country, but you respect another country when they're singing God Save the Queen, I'm just telling you, let me just finish. It's a respect issue here.
They're not getting shot by British cops. They're not getting oppressed by English mass incarceration centers.
Okay, guys.
Mark.
We got to leave it there, guys. Ben Ferguson, Mark Lamont Hill. Always great to have you both on. Thank you so much. Coming up, Puerto Ricans still.
I am inspired. My goodness. Why boycott the NFL? You know what? I'm not even going to make this about why we should boycott the NFL as far as all the players go, all the NFL players that are taking a knee during the national anthem, and literally they're just disrespecting our flag. I'm not going to go there. What I want to go and look at is all the positive benefits that I'm seeing from all of you Americans. Can this American right here tell you how much it feels so good to not have to worry about who is playing and who is winning and what the score is on the game today? I tell you, it's a relief. If you are being relieved, if you are finding creative ways to enjoy your Sunday that is changing your life, that is enhancing your life, that's enhancing your family's lives, please share it with me. I want to hear it. I want to hear exactly what is going on with you and your family. Hold on a second. I found out I got this new phone. want to make sure you can hear me here. And share it with me. I got to see some of the people's posts on my last post. People are doing fun stuff today as a family. They're doing family stuff today. I spent this weekend with my daughter at a convention, a conference for Lance Wallnau, growing and learning and doing some amazing stuff. But share with me, share this video and comment underneath here. What are you doing that is enhancing your life instead of what you used to do on Sundays? I've seen people share that they used to spend as much as 3 to even 6 or even 8 hours on a Sunday watching football, wasting that time watching somebody else's dream, watching somebody else do what they're passionate about. They were wasting that time. They were giving that time away. What are you doing that's enhancing your life? I really think that we're at a pivotal time in this country that we have the opportunity to help see that the giant idol of football that has taken away so much time and energy from fathers and mothers, from their families and from God on Sundays, we can help topple this idol of the NFL. They should not be getting as much of our attention as they've been getting, and we've been giving it to them for free. But you know what? It hasn't been free. It's been costing us and our families something. It's been costing us. So share with us, share this video, and then comment below, what creative things are you doing that you used to not do because you used to devote all this time to Sunday? And for some of you, it was even Monday and even Thursday as well. What could you do with an extra 15 to 20 hours a month? What could you do with an extra 15 to 20 hours a month? Even if you only watched one football game and there was preparation on Sundays, that's 16 hours a month. What could you do as a family to create legacy, to add to your family? What could you do with that 16 hours a month? I want you to think about that, and please share this video. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon. David J. Harris Jr. here. Bye-bye.